So this is going to be a little video about attempting to fix the computer out of a 2003, I think, Bombardier Traxter ATV that keeps popping the fuse that goes to the computer. And this is a well-known issue with these things, that if you attempt to charge the battery or jump start it with a running vehicle, it causes one of these diodes to short. So you can see that I've cut open the corner of the computer here. This is the approximate location of these things inside here. I pried that off, and this is just kind of a spongy rubber material that they potted the whole thing in. And I'm pretty sure this is the problem diode. It's a TVS diode. And if you measure across it with a ohm meter, it's just dead shorted, 0 ohms. So I'm pretty sure this is the issue. If you get in tight on it, it is a ON Semiconductor brand, MR25, I believe 35. It's something they don't make anymore, but I should be able to get a suitable replacement for it. All right, so I got a replacement TVS diode. This is the DigiKey number that I used. It's a unidirectional. This was a unidirectional TVS diode that was in it. They don't make it anymore. It's important, I think, to replace it with unidirectional, because that serves the purpose not only of protecting against voltage spikes, but the unidirectional protects against, if you hook the battery up backward, that will protect the computer. And that's really the purpose of this thing, I imagine. If you look on the one that's in here, there's a little white stripe kind of under where it says MR25 there. And I assume that's the direction that it needs to go. The replacement one also has a stripe on it, like most diodes. So I already lifted this one out of here and confirmed that it is the problem. So I'll cut it the rest of the way out and put the new one in. So I got the replacement piece here. You can see how I've J-hooked it. So solder is not structural. You need some actual mechanical support for a solder joint. And since we can't get to the back of this, we can't get to the back of the board to unsolder the original legs because there's an aluminum sheet underneath the computer. We just had to cut out the old one, and I've done my best to make a hook out of that old leg there. And I've hooked this, and I'll hook that in there and solder it together. I didn't have very much lead left here, so I'll just have to kind of make do. I'll get it put in here. This is the direction that the stripe was going on the original one, and hopefully that'll be right. Computer's plugged in. I didn't put it all the way in the machine because I still got to seal it up, assuming this works. I've got the fuse block diagram here. It says the computer is number 5. Got a 20 amp fuse we'll put in here. The battery was completely shot. It was sitting in a barn for 10 years, so I'm gonna use my boost box. I'm just gonna hook it up to the wire terminals here. So I'll click the bypass on the box and turn the key. Hopefully the lights will light up at least. Nothing. I had to put a 30 amp fuse in the charging circuit, which apparently has something to do with all this. And it didn't blow the fuse, and it lit up. This, with it not knowing what gear it's in, I remember that was happening back when we were still using it 10 years ago. So that's nothing new. That was just my boost box cutoff. I think we got something. This thing was a bear to solder, by the way. I think this old potting material is actually on every surface and solder just won't stick to it. I had flux on it and everything, and it took a long time. I finally got it like a good solder joint there. Now that we know it works, I'm gonna seal this back up. I don't want to use any sort of like hard epoxy, because if I ever need to undo it, I need something that's like soft and pliable. So I decided to go with flex paste. I figure it'll work fine. I'm gonna fill this up and then put the original pieces back on it. Hopefully glue it all together. Make it waterproof again. We'll get it put back in the four-wheeler. Put that back on. I think that's going to do the job well enough. I mean, if Phil Swift can make a boat out of a screen door with it, I think we can fix a piece of junk four-wheeler computer with it. We'll let it dry and finish rebuilding the rest of this thing.